What you are about to learn has shocked many. We sent our best tracking instruments into deep space, and what we found there completely shatters all known laws. The data doesn't just fail to match our bold expectations. It points to something utterly terrifying and vast. For decades, we were absolutely certain of our planetary security. Scientists built massive antennas to intercept alien radio signals. Mathematics guaranteed us the existence of thousands of intelligent civilizations all around us. We expected to hear a cosmos bustling with diverse life. But instead, we stumbled upon an inexplicable, terrifying anomaly. And this cosmic anomaly defies any simple logical explanation. Our airwaves should be overflowing with artificial, structured radio waves. Stars should be surrounded by gigantic technological power stations. Any advanced race inevitably leaves noticeable traces in space. We knew exactly what to look for among the distant constellations. But the true reality turned out to be completely different and extremely frightening. We actually noticed the first oddities quite recently. Telescopes detected sections of space with an unnatural and frightening emptiness. At first, it looked like a routine system error in old equipment. Engineers spent a long time checking and meticulously recalibrating all our tracking systems. However, the new data only confirmed our worst scientific fears. The error turned out to be a harsh and very frightening objective truth. Something truly monumental is happening right now in our own galaxy. This invisible phenomenon is actively and purposefully erasing any traces of activity. It operates with mathematical precision and is utterly merciless toward everyone. Nature simply cannot create such perfect physical barriers on its own. We have encountered something clearly artificial and incredibly powerful. The situation is rapidly deteriorating with every new global scan of the starry sky. We are finding more and more zones of perfect, eerily dead, cold silence. This silence is not the natural physical background of an empty, ancient universe. It looks like the result of a gigantic artificial suppression system. Someone or something is deliberately silencing entire densely populated star clusters. We can no longer dismiss this as a mere technical glitch. The problem extends far beyond a local cosmic glitch. This unknown, powerful filter operates everywhere our gaze reaches. It ignores starlight, but strictly blocks artificial, directional radio waves. The entire observable universe strictly obeys this eerie universal rule. If our trusted theories don't work there, they might break down here. After all, we live by the very same basic laws of physics. Our solar system lies deep within this strange, invisible web. We blithely and joyfully send our powerful signals into this darkness. But we have absolutely no idea who exactly might be intercepting them right now. Our historical openness could become our greatest and final fatal mistake. We naively thought we understood the fundamental structure of this infinite, vast world. Our cutting-edge science seemed to us the absolute pinnacle of the evolutionary development of the mind. But now we feel like blind kittens in a completely dark room. The bottomless void surrounding us harbors a hidden, incredibly vast threat. Every new astronomical discovery only intensifies our collective existential anxiety. Space has turned out to be a completely unfriendly ocean for our new discoveries. It is much more like a minefield of truly gigantic proportions. A single careless move could quickly lead to an irreparable global catastrophe. The more we look at the stars, the less we understand them. And we still don't know why everything is arranged exactly this way. According to everything we know for certain, the cosmos should be incredibly noisy. Astronomers have long devised complex equations to estimate the number of advanced civilizations. The famous Drake equation takes into account the number of suitable stars and the probability of life emerging. The calculations always show a huge mathematical probability of the existence of highly developed inhabited worlds. Around old, stable stars, there was enough time for complex biology to emerge. This is a normal model of our physical reality that we all understand. For many years, we sincerely believed in this beautiful and logical scientific concept. Scientists believed that other races would certainly want to make contact with their neighbors. For interstellar communication, they would surely have chosen the most universal frequency of hydrogen radiation. This chemical element is ubiquitous, and its properties are known to any competent physicist. We expected to hear regular radio signals sent specifically to attract our attention. The airwaves were supposed to literally buzz with a huge number of intercepted messages. Our sensitive instruments are designed specifically to detect such artificial, meaningful signals. Engineers are constantly building super-powerful radio telescopes all over the globe. These giant, high-tech antennas are capable of hearing the faint whispers of the most distant galaxies. Special intelligent algorithms easily filter out natural, chaotic, cosmic background noise. We have long since learned to unerringly distinguish natural pulsars from artificial directional beacons. Computers continuously analyze terabytes of information every second without the slightest technical delay. The global scientific community was absolutely certain of imminent and inevitable success. Researchers purposefully aimed telescopes at the most promising nearby yellow dwarfs. They were searching for exoplanets in the ideal zone of potential and comfortable habitability. At this precise distance, water can remain in a liquid state for a long time. All the collected data strictly pointed to the inevitability of the first historic extraterrestrial contact. All that was left for us to do was wait very patiently and listen to the airwaves with the utmost attention. The hope of a speedy encounter with our brothers in reason inspired entire generations of people. Physicists actively wrote scientific papers on methods of interstellar communication and language translation. We sent golden records into the void, containing recordings of the sounds of our home planet. Greetings, in dozens of different human languages, are flying aboard distant space probes. People sincerely wanted to show the universe their peacefulness and willingness to cooperate. It seemed that the long-awaited reply would arrive very soon. For decades, we waited anxiously for answers from the boundless and very dark universe. The search for extraterrestrial intelligence firmly united millions of ordinary people on our planet. Volunteers happily provided their home computers to process enormous data sets. This program became the largest computing project in the history of all humanity. Science fiction writers painted vivid pictures of an imminent, peaceful encounter with friendly aliens. No one at the time had the slightest doubt that the cosmic silence would soon be broken for good. But our agonizing wait dragged on for long and incredibly torturous years. The airwaves stubbornly remained eerily silent on absolutely every frequency available to us. At first, this seemed like a common and entirely explainable technical glitch on the researchers' part. We simply attributed the lack of results to the insufficient sensitivity of our old antennas. Governments willingly allocated billions more to modernize all this cumbersome equipment. Scientists firmly believed that the new technological upgrades would surely bear fruit. Increasingly sophisticated and gigantic communication complexes were being put into operation around the world. Radio astronomers were linking scattered telescopes into unified global networks the size of continents. This allowed for a manifold increase in tracking accuracy and the quality of weak signal reception. We began listening to space simultaneously across several completely different wavelength bands. Each new project promised to be that long-awaited revolutionary breakthrough in science. But the dark sky continued to stubbornly maintain its icy and indifferent silence. Earth-based technologies have become incredibly powerful, but the end result has not changed at all. Orbital space observatories scan deep space at unprecedented ultra-high optical resolution. New telescopes see the universe without the slightest atmospheric or other optical distortions. Now, the old argument about equipment being too weak no longer holds water at all. We hear the cosmos more clearly than ever before in human history. And this ringing clarity only underscores the absolute, terrifying, and dead emptiness. The data obtained completely refutes all of our most reliable and proven theories. In the dense clusters of the most ancient stars, there is not a single artificial sound. Astronomers carefully select the most stable star systems for their deep listening. But there is not even the slightest hint of alien communication or technology. Such total and unbroken silence simply defies our comprehension. Logic completely collapses under the unbearable weight of these indisputable and harsh facts. It was then that scientific circles began discussing the frightening concept of the Great Filter. Perhaps an insurmountable fatal barrier stands in the way of any civilization's development. Intelligent species may quickly destroy themselves in global nuclear conflicts, or advanced technologies may spiral out of control, wiping their creators off the face of the planet. This chilling hypothesis forced researchers to take a completely new look at the problem of silence. If this filter truly exists, then we have either already passed it, or it still lies ahead. This is by no means simply a banal absence of highly developed or any other life. Instruments consistently show a perfect, eerie, and mathematically precise void in the radio spectrum. We consistently receive only the familiar static background from the ancient Big Bang. It is as if someone has very carefully and purposefully cut out all extraneous sounds from the airwaves. Natural cosmic chaos should always sound completely different and very diverse. We clearly see before us an absolutely smooth wall of impenetrable informational emptiness. Gradually, scientists around the world began to realize the true scale of their colossal mistake. Our most reliable picture of the world had developed a massive and utterly irreparable crack. The good old theories about friendly and sociable neighbors were quickly tossed into the trash. The reality surrounding us is far more complex and apparently far more deadly and dangerous. We were all deeply mistaken in our naive, almost childlike, joyful expectations. The universe turned out to be not such a hospitable home for intelligent beings after all. The optimism of many researchers quickly gave way to growing anxiety and a sense of bewilderment about what was happening around us. The focus of scientific discussions shifted from plans for contact to concerns about our own safety. We realized that our loud activity on the airwaves might have been a reckless mistake. By sending out powerful signals, we were literally shouting about our existence into the unknown darkness. Now, this darkness frightens us with its unnatural, cold, and very secretive nature. No one knows for sure what forces are hiding behind this perfect facade. The great silence of the cosmos has become the greatest mystery of modern Earth-based astronomy. It is as if we are screaming in despair into a completely empty, incredibly dark, and cold room. Our young civilization has encountered a harsh reality that is completely incomprehensible to us. We suddenly realized that the fundamental laws of physics conceal a terrifying secret. We now stand on the threshold of discoveries that could forever change the fate of humanity. And this is only the beginning of our future and truly monumental problems. Instead of the expected natural chaos, we are constantly observing very strange physical anomalies. The collected digital data looks as if a meaningful signal is being deliberately and rigorously suppressed. This is completely and utterly unlike any ordinary or rare natural phenomenon. It bears much more resemblance to the coordinated operation of a gigantic interstellar system of dense jamming. Someone, or something monumental, is purposefully erasing useful information from our space. An incredibly persistent sensation of an alien, invisible presence near us arises. Astrophysicists have long tried to find natural causes for such selective signal blocking. They modeled the passage of radio waves through dense clusters of dark matter and interstellar dust. But mathematical models consistently showed completely different results on their monitors. Natural barriers distort the signal predictably and leave very characteristic traces in the spectrum. In our case, the ether looks as if it has been incredibly carefully and surgically cleaned. The information vanishes without a trace, leaving physics with no clues. We clearly see billions of galaxies with incredibly active and turbulent physical lives. In their dense centers, enormous and destructive supermassive black holes rage constantly. Truly colossal energy bursts occur there every single day. But absolutely nothing technological or artificial breaks through this monstrous natural noise. It is as if an incredibly powerful and completely impenetrable dense filter has been set up on a specific wavelength. This invisible barrier cuts off all signs of intelligent activity from our view. Imagine yourself right in the center of a roaring, packed sports stadium. Around you, tens of thousands of excited people are waving their arms energetically and emotionally. You can clearly see them opening their mouths wide and shouting with all their might. But not a single sound, not even the faintest whisper, reaches your straining ears. You suddenly find yourself in an unnatural and terrifying vacuum of absolute ringing silence. It is precisely this eerie picture that our perplexed and frightened radio telescopes are currently observing. Leading physicists have begun to doubt the completeness of our knowledge about the structure of the cosmic vacuum. It is quite possible that we are simply overlooking some fundamental law of information transmission. Perhaps, over very long distances, radio waves lose their original complex structure. But this bold hypothesis directly contradicts observations of ancient natural quasars. Their light and radio emissions reach us across billions of light-years without loss. This means the problem lies exclusively in the selective suppression of intelligent signals. This incredible discovery completely shatters our established understanding of the physics of the entire universe. Modern science simply does not know of any natural mechanisms capable of such total suppression. No dense gas or massive dust cloud can jam radio waves so perfectly. Any radio signals should pass through such simple obstacles with ease and without hindrance. There must be a fundamentally different, deeply unsettling cause for this massive anomaly. Someone is artificially controlling information flows on a gigantic galactic scale. We desperately tried to completely overhaul our usual methods of observing distant stars. Researchers quickly shifted from listening for radio waves to observing optical and complex infrared spectra. They meticulously searched for powerful laser flashes and thermal signatures of gigantic orbital megastructures. Dyson spheres must inevitably radiate enormous amounts of heat into the surrounding dark space. We really wanted to believe that it was enough simply to expand the operational range of our search. But this strange and invisible barrier of silence operates at absolutely every physical level. Infrared orbital sensors detect absolutely none of the expected heat from massive alien manufacturing facilities. The very best optical telescopes do not register the rhythmic flashes of directed, bright interstellar beacons. No meaningful or complex signal can break through this impenetrable wall. All our advanced technical devices crash against an insurmountable and impenetrable barrier of silence. This phenomenon effectively blocks any attempt at interstellar communication, even the most powerful ones. It acts as the most perfect insulator for any meaningful flow of useful information. Scientists specifically analyze the behavior of the strangest and most unstable stars in our galaxy. The periodic flickering of some stars offered a faint hope that these eclipses might be of artificial origin. The press picked up the news of the possible discovery of alien solar power stations with great fanfare. But further, lengthy investigations always revealed nothing more than mundane clusters of ordinary comets or dust. Once again, no real miracle occurred, leaving astronomers alone with their growing disappointment. Space stubbornly refused to show us the fruits of some alien technological engineering genius. At first, the engineers sincerely and naively believed it was a simple error in their complex equipment. For months on end, they double-checked every minute detail of their giant metal antennas. The best specialists tested the software and calibrated the ultra-sensitive sensors hundreds of times in a row. The equipment was specifically directed at Earth satellites known to us to verify the quality of the connection. It turned out that all of our highly complex technology was functioning absolutely and completely flawlessly. We were forced to bitterly admit that the instruments were right and our beliefs were wrong. The instruments easily picked up all the test control signals without the slightest audio distortion. The problem clearly and unequivocally lay not in our advanced terrestrial computers. No one in the scientific world wanted to believe in the frightening and cold reality of what was happening. This ominous, perfect silence bore no resemblance to a simple physical coincidence. It appeared unnaturally smooth, even, and far too mathematically and geometrically precise. This state of affairs openly challenged the entire modern scientific approach. Some thinkers began seriously discussing the theory of a giant cosmic zoo for young races. According to this idea, older civilizations deliberately concealed their presence from the green newcomers. They calmly observe our development from afar, without interfering in the natural historical course of events. A special force field could easily isolate our solar system from external radio channels. This concept sounds like cheap science fiction, but it perfectly explains the radio silence. It is as if we are in a vast nature reserve with invisible and very sturdy walls. Puzzled and frightened scientists have begun to construct new, even bolder, physical hypotheses. Incredible theories are being put forward about the hidden properties of space itself and the very flow of time. Some physicists speak of radio waves being absorbed by completely unknown, powerful quantum fluctuations. But not a single known hypothesis fully explains the filter's strange and frightening selectivity. Only those patterns that can be recognized as artificial or intelligent are strictly blocked. The filter operates with frightening intellectual precision, erasing only what carries meaning. Each new day of observation only adds darker strokes to this terrifying picture. Researchers feel like detectives investigating a grand crime of cosmic proportions. All evidence has been methodically and thoroughly destroyed, and potential witnesses remain silent as the grave. We continue to peer intently into the abyss, gradually realizing that the answer may simply not exist. Or that answer may turn out to be so terrifying that we will deeply regret our long search. Science has reached the most dangerous and unpredictable threshold in its long human history. The natural and predictable chaotic noise of the cosmos reaches our antennas without a hitch. We hear the radiation of hydrogen and the bursts of distant quasars perfectly and very clearly. The only thing that is jammed is anything showing even the slightest signs of advanced intelligent life. If all these terrifying and bold conjectures are true, the situation is completely spiraling out of control. We have reached an absolutely insurmountable limit of our current scientific human knowledge. And this is precisely where the situation becomes significantly worse and incomparably more terrifying. This is not just a single strange observation in one tiny sector of our sky. We clearly see the same terrifying anomaly again and again every night. It appears regularly in a wide variety of astronomical databases in a completely and mathematically synchronized manner. Completely different, independent radio telescopes consistently detect the same terrifying phenomenon. Scientists are frantically cross-referencing the data and, with growing horror, realizing the true scale of what is happening. At first, researchers naively believed that the phenomenon was strictly confined to our own galaxy. We cautiously attempted to peer far beyond the boundaries of our familiar and well-studied Milky Way. Astronomers pointed their most powerful instruments at the massive neighboring Andromeda galaxy. But the results obtained from there turned out to be even more disappointing and truly eerie. The exact same global effect of radio suppression is observed in neighboring large galaxies. This ominous silence extends far beyond the limits of our understanding of the universe. It encompasses many millions of light-years of utterly lifeless and cold intergalactic space. Scientists sincerely hope to find at least one tiny island of advanced life out there. Instead, they discovered only an endless vacuum and a complete absence of artificial activity. This problem turned out to be of a truly grand, incredible, and all-encompassing cosmic scale. With every new, incredibly expensive study, the scale of this problem only grows rapidly. The planet's finest minds have finally realized that this is not a random malfunction of complex Earth-based equipment. It is a deeply frightening systemic pattern, tightly woven into the very fabric of our cosmos. The deeper we peer into the dark abyss, the more clearly we see this filter. In all of the observable cosmos, there is not a single safe and bustling island. We have thoroughly examined the gigantic dark voids between the vast luminous galactic filaments. Astrophysicists had high hopes of detecting the faint echoes of ancient civilizations in these desolate regions. But everywhere, invariably and consistently, we observe the effect of absolute, powerful suppression of the radio spectrum. The laws of this strange cosmic isolation operate absolutely everywhere, without the slightest exception. No one in the world can escape the influence of this global, invisible cosmic barrier. Astrophysicists have re-examined and very carefully analyzed the old, dusty archives of past scientific decades. They meticulously retrieved records from the very first primitive radio telescopes of the harsh 20th century. It turned out that signs of severe suppression were clearly present in the ether from the very beginning of observations. It's just that back then, no one paid them the proper scientific attention they deserved. We very naively attributed this flat background to technical errors in our rudimentary equipment. In those early years, radio astronomy was only taking its very first, uncertain, tentative steps. Researchers sincerely believed that uniform silence was the norm for imperfect and outdated terrestrial instruments. But now, with growing horror, we realize the fatal and foolish mistake of our past. This is definitely not a local phenomenon that can simply be bypassed or waited out. No matter where we look now, we inevitably and harshly run into a brick wall. The airwaves are clear to such an unimaginable degree that it is causing genuine global panic. To suppress any signals across such vast territories requires truly incredible power. This is colossal hidden energy, many times exceeding the physical capabilities of entire spiral galaxies. We know of no natural physical processes of such a high energy level. This phenomenon lies completely beyond the reach of our modern and proud earthly science. The true scale of this universal anomaly is simply beyond normal human comprehension. It is a gigantic, absorbing, invisible web that tightly entangles the entire observable, visible cosmos. It is distributed with surprising uniformity and mathematical precision across all observable sectors of the sky. An ominous, dense silence hangs equally over every known constellation and nebula. If this is indeed real, then the discovery changes absolutely everything in our universe. The scientific community is now forced to rethink the most basic principles of modern astrobiology. It turns out we all live in a universe that deliberately and very cruelly conceals information. For reasons as yet unknown, outer space is utterly hostile to any artificial signals. Our entire solar system is in a kind of gigantic, insurmountable, and strict quarantine. We have encountered an incredible phenomenon that permeates the very fabric of our reality, and we must quickly embrace a completely new paradigm of our solitary existence. For many years, we romantically believed that the universe was very much like a vast, open ocean. Scientists sincerely believed in the possibility of easy and free communication between distant stellar islands. All our projects to search for extraterrestrial intelligence were built precisely on this positive concept. We hoped to listen quite freely to radio waves from other, incredibly advanced planets. But this boundless ocean is harshly divided by insurmountable and completely invisible, powerful walls. Artificial sound is simply physically incapable of overcoming these colossal interstellar dark distances. Signals quickly fade or are deliberately blocked on their long journey to our antennas. As a result, every star system finds itself permanently isolated within its own information bubble. Fresh data from the latest high-powered orbital telescopes only confirm these deep-seated fears. Advanced instruments find not even the slightest signs of large-scale engineering around other neighboring stars. The blockage of the ether is too precise and stable to be a mere spontaneous and blind natural phenomenon. Random processes in space usually create unpredictable chaos, not such a perfect void. It looks as though someone powerful has deliberately set strict rules of the game for everyone, and only now, decades later, have we begun to tentatively grasp these harsh laws of the universe. Physicists clearly see strict and frighteningly precise geometric patterns in this collected data. Imagine an advanced civilization locked forever in a vast, soundproof, dark room. Intelligent beings can develop peacefully and safely on their home planets for millions of years. They are incredibly successful at building megastructures and studying their local star systems in great detail. Their technologies gradually reach staggering heights within their cozy, closed-off world. But they will never in their lives be able to reach out to their nearest cosmic neighbors. All of their most powerful directed signals are inevitably swallowed up by this strange cosmic isolation. They will forever feel utterly alone in this vast galaxy teeming with life. This is the sad fate that awaits absolutely all intelligent species, without a single exception. Strict isolation perfectly explains why we still do not see large-scale galactic empires. The famous Fermi paradox finally receives its darkest and most logical resolution. Any attempt at large-scale technological expansion or communication is ruthlessly nipped in the bud. Information and cultural exchange between civilizations becomes physically impossible once and for all. The Great Filter is not to be found in our distant evolutionary past or nebulous future. This insurmountable barrier tightly surrounds us right here and right now on all sides. It works perfectly as an ideal silencer for any artificial technological radioactivity. It absolutely prevents anyone from loudly announcing their presence to the entire vast galaxy. All of our earthly physics was firmly built on the concept of an open and easily penetrable universe. We firmly believed that encoded information could travel through a vacuum for almost an infinite amount of time. Scientists joyfully sent messages to distant stars in the hope of a reply millennia from now. No one in the scientific world had the slightest doubt about the physical possibility of such contact. But now the global scientific community will have to completely rewrite the basic laws of modern astrophysics. The universe we observe has turned out to be an incredibly dark, harsh, and closed-off, dangerous place. Ordinary light from stars travels completely freely through billions of cold light years. However, any artificial, meaningful messages are mercilessly lost in this deep, dead abyss. Now we look at the familiar starry night sky with completely different, fear-filled eyes. Astronomers clearly understand that behind every twinkling light lies a great and terrifying mystery. Among the countless shining stars, a vast array of diverse, complex life may indeed be hidden. Our dark cosmos may be literally teeming with the most varied of our brothers in reason. But all these ancient civilizations are just as cosmically deaf as we are here on Earth. We are all doomed to gaze forever at a single impenetrable and terrifying wall of great silence. Trillions of intelligent beings are forever cruelly separated by the laws of unknown physics or malevolent will. No one in the entire vast galaxy can pierce this invisible wall. We are forever deprived of the opportunity to learn the wisdom of ancient and highly advanced alien races. Such isolation makes each of us an eternal prisoner in our own little home. The feeling of universal, warm brotherhood has rapidly given way to an oppressive sense of total isolation. This harsh rule knows absolutely no exceptions for any star system. If our reliable models do not work there, then they are incorrect everywhere and always. The fundamental laws of physics must be absolutely identical in every corner of the observable universe. A massive error over gigantic distances implies a critical error in the very basic principles. This directly and very harshly affects the place where we are right now. Our own solar system strictly obeys the very same rigid rules of the cosmic game. We ourselves are an integral part of this strange, locked-in, and invisible vast system. Such a discovery completely and irrevocably changes our understanding of our own planetary security. This frightening problem is rapidly ceasing to be purely academic and distant from ordinary people. It directly concerns the very basic structure of the reality in which we all now live. This scientific paradox has suddenly turned into the most pressing and acute threat to humanity. Scientists are right to ask a logical question about the fate of our own powerful terrestrial radio transmissions. We have been broadcasting into outer space carefree and joyfully for over a century without stopping. But our signals may fade away or be absorbed as soon as they leave the confines of our own solar system. In light of these grim discoveries, the most terrifying question of all arises. We are desperately trying to understand the true motives behind the creation of such a grand and powerful cosmic barrier. Who on Earth would need to expend colossal energy to isolate billions of habitable star systems? Ancient creators may be trying to protect us from something truly horrific lurking in the darkness. This invisible wall may serve as a powerful shield against merciless, hidden galactic threats. Or a higher intelligence is deliberately hiding us as a highly dangerous and aggressive biological infection. Any of these proposed answers makes the blood run cold in the veins of all researchers. With growing horror, we realize that there are things far worse than complete cosmic loneliness. The Milky Way may literally teem with the most diverse intelligent forms of active ancient life. But all of them are now hiding in panic, or are forcibly silenced by something incredibly superior. Our ambitious future as a successful and open spacefaring species is suddenly under threat. For decades, humanity has been making grand plans to colonize distant star systems and galaxies. We sincerely plan to leave our earthly cradle once and for all and populate the entire cosmos. All our bright dreams of peaceful contact now seem incredibly naive and deadly dangerous. We know absolutely nothing about the harsh rules of this merciless, very dark, and cold cosmos. Perhaps those civilizations that tried to shout too loudly into the ether have already vanished forever. Their careless radio transmissions may have attracted the attention of a mechanism that harshly suppresses any artificial signals. Any rash attempt to make ourselves known could have been our very last and fatal mistake. We have absolutely no idea whether this cleansing force possesses its own mind and consciousness. It could be a soulless natural algorithm or the legacy of a super-civilization that died out long ago without a trace. But we can see very clearly the results of its incredibly effective and utterly ruthless, methodical work. The real problem is that we revealed ourselves carelessly a very long time ago. Since the invention of radio, we have been continuously broadcasting our transmissions in all directions of the void. The range of our signals has already expanded to 100 light-years from our cozy home star, the Sun. If a predator truly lurks in this darkness, it surely already knows our exact coordinates. And if it is some kind of automated punitive system, we are doomed to await its inevitable harsh response. Humanity can only guess how long it will take for this threat to reach our planet. Our former unshakable sense of security turned out to be nothing more than a very sweet and incredibly dangerous suicidal illusion. Leading scientists are now experiencing a profound, professional, and deeply distressing existential crisis. What once began as bold research has quickly turned into total global paranoia. Astronomers are terrified of being the first to witness the rapid approach of an inevitable and terrifying cosmic catastrophe. Every new thorough analysis of the data brings us only new, serious reasons for insomnia. We have finally fully realized our incredible vulnerability in the face of the universe's colossal unknown. Our earthly technologies are laughably primitive compared to forces that can easily silence entire galaxies. Our former scientific optimism has rapidly and irrevocably given way to a cold, existential, primal, animal terror. On the true scale of the universe, we find ourselves tightly locked in a cramped and dark informational cage. The most terrifying thing about all this is that we do not know what its bars are made of. This monumental discovery mercilessly shatters our inflated human ego and our familiar worldview. The era of romantic space exploration has quietly given way to an era of total, hidden, and paranoid survival. Our most fundamental problem lies in a complete lack of understanding of the surrounding physical processes. The crux of the matter is not the absence of signals, but the nature of the overwhelming mechanism itself. We have suddenly found ourselves face to face with an utterly unknowable and profoundly alien, massive and powerful phenomenon. Our earthly logic simply refuses to function on such incredible and gigantic spatial scales. Humanity does not yet possess suitable mathematical formulas for a detailed and accurate description of what is happening. Existing laws of physics simply do not cover such vast interstellar distances. Scientists are increasingly speaking of the need to create an entirely new fundamental science. Old astronomy textbooks are rapidly losing their relevance against the backdrop of the Great Silence. We need a revolutionary breakthrough in understanding the structure of the fundamental fabric of space and time. Without this breakthrough, we will remain like blind kittens in a vast, dark room. Theorists are attempting to merge quantum mechanics with the theory of relativity in search of answers. But so far, these complex formulas have brought only more disappointment and new, unsolvable mysteries. The planet's brightest minds sit sleepless for days on end at supercomputers in utterly fruitless attempts. Any hypothesis they propose is immediately shattered by new data from orbital telescopes. The scientific world has rapidly plunged into a state of profound bewilderment and complete intellectual helplessness. We are like primitive people, unsuccessfully trying to understand the inner workings of a complex quantum computer. If we do not understand the cause at all, we cannot predict the possible future consequences. This lack of understanding is causing intense anxiety among researchers across the globe. No one knows for sure how stable this frightening invisible barrier around our sun is. Perhaps it has been here for millions of years, providing incredibly reliable protection against external threats. This peculiar cosmic quarantine may have saved our young planet from countless deadly dangers. But it could also turn out to be a temporary cosmic anomaly with a completely unpredictable and terrifying outcome. There is a terrifying possibility that one day this energy shield will simply vanish suddenly and without a trace. Then we will find ourselves face to face with hostile and unknown darkness. Or it might begin to rapidly and mercilessly contract around our fragile and defenseless planetary system. In that case, we would find ourselves in a deadly trap with not a single sliver of a chance to escape. This thought keeps the world's leading astrophysicists awake at night. Meanwhile, we continue to spend billions on building new and massive radio telescopes. Governments willingly allocate colossal budgets to modernize existing large-scale ground-based antenna complexes. Huge sums are spent on maintaining the illusion of our total control over the situation. Engineers are creating incredibly sensitive receivers to detect the slightest fluctuations in the empty, lifeless ether. But this massive scientific effort may turn out to be a completely pointless waste of precious resources. Perhaps we are simply using entirely wrong and outdated search tools year after year. We are literally and very stubbornly trying to hear a sound in a vacuum without the presence of air itself. Our cutting-edge science is too primitive to quickly solve such an incredibly grand cosmic problem. We need a radical shift in the entire paradigm of space exploration. It seems we have all hit an impenetrable ceiling in our own technological and intellectual evolution. The more intently we gaze into space, the less sense it makes to us. Every new batch of astronomical data only confuses and frightens us further. The answers we long for constantly slip away from us, like dry, hot sand through our fingers. We have fully realized that our current understanding of physics is simply laughable on the true scale of the universe. Our great scientific discoveries have turned out to be a tiny drop in the vast, dark ocean of cosmic mysteries. Reality is actually far stranger and more complex than any of our wildest imaginings. Human intelligence has strict biological limits when it comes to processing complex information. Philosophers suggest that this barrier is unconsciously created by our own incredibly limited biological minds. Evolution created our complex brain solely for survival on this tiny planet. It is completely ill-suited for understanding the multidimensional and terrifyingly infinite dark, cold cosmos. Our picture of the world is severely distorted by our primitive senses. Our psyche can physically block shocking external information for the sake of our own self-preservation. We see through our telescopes only what the brain is capable of processing safely and calmly. Everything else is ruthlessly and quickly cut out by the subconscious as deadly dangerous and incomprehensible informational noise. Perhaps grandiose extraterrestrial megastructures are right before our eyes every day. But we stubbornly mistake them for ordinary gas nebulae or natural star clusters. This is the curse of our limited and purely earthly perception of reality. For centuries, we all naively believed that we had finally understood the inner workings of the vast universe. We were incredibly and sincerely proud of our laws of thermodynamics and our highly complex quantum equations. Physicists confidently sketched models of the expansion of space and the birth of new galaxies on blackboards. But against the backdrop of the Great Silence, our textbooks seem like nothing more than naive and simple children's fairy tales. Earthly science now looks like an attempt to measure the depth of the world's oceans with a short school ruler. Our pride has given way to a deep and sincere humility in the face of the grandeur of the cosmos. We are beginning to understand that ordinary matter makes up only a tiny fraction of the entire universe. The rest of space is filled with mysterious dark energy and invisible dark matter. It is there that the keys to unraveling this incredible and frightening silence may lie. But even our most advanced instruments are completely blind to these hidden forms of energy. We are trying to read the complex book of the universe, knowing only a small part of the alphabet. This intellectual impasse is forcing scientists to completely rethink their work. We stand utterly alone on the shore of an endless dark ocean of frightening and cold uncertainty. Humanity is desperately and panically afraid to take even a small step forward into this darkness. Any careless move in that direction could lead to fatal consequences. If total cosmic isolation is real, we are missing something truly and absolutely fundamental. This invisible blind spot in our perception greatly hinders our ability to see the true picture of the most complex universe. We face a long and painful process of realizing our own insignificance. We are like deep-sea fish, completely unaware of the water surrounding us. It is quite possible that we are currently looking for answers in entirely the wrong hidden physical dimensions. Astrophysicists suggest searching for anomalies in gravitational waves or in the distribution of dark matter. But even these cutting-edge methods have yet to yield any clear and comprehensible results. Huge particle detectors record only natural background noise with no signs of intelligence. The mystery remains unsolved despite all our tremendous efforts. The living and very noisy universe is securely hidden from us behind a dense, impenetrable energy veil. Behind this screen, grand events may well be unfolding, and billions of ancient civilizations may be communicating. There, large-scale Star Wars may be raging, or unimaginable engineering structures may be under construction, and we still have absolutely no idea how to lift this veil. Our minds crash against an invisible wall in their attempts to understand our true place in the world. The feeling of profound isolation becomes more palpable with each passing day. Every new discovery makes us increasingly frightened and endlessly lonely and isolated. We realize that our old methods of inquiry have completely run their course and become obsolete. A completely new approach is needed to understand the basic laws governing the functioning of the cosmos. Until then, we will continue to peer into the empty, cold abyss. We are desperately trying to figure out how to survive safely in this incredibly hostile silence. Desperate scientists began searching for explanations in the darkest corners of sociology and evolutionary biology. When classical terrestrial physics reached a dead end, entirely different disciplines came to the rescue. Researchers turned to the basic, primal survival instincts of all living creatures known to us. If physics cannot mathematically explain silence, the answer clearly lies in animal social behavior. Earth's wild nature is full of examples of how weak prey are forced to hide from predators. The law of the strong applies everywhere and always, without exception. In ordinary wildlife, there is a reason why an entire forest suddenly and eerily falls silent. Birds stop singing, and insects instantly cease making their usual loud background noises. This always happens when a hungry and extremely dangerous large predator is hiding in the thick bushes. All inhabitants instinctively and quickly freeze so as not to accidentally reveal their highly vulnerable location. And right now, our entire universe strongly resembles just such a silent forest, filled with primal fear. This theory sounds frighteningly simple and mathematically logical to our basic understanding of the world. This concept is often called the dark forest theory because of its chilling analogy. Astute sociologists understand that the harsh laws of evolution are utterly merciless toward all forms of biological life. No one would risk their existence for the sake of mere curiosity or naive friendliness. Imagine a very dense night forest, full of diverse, yet carefully and deeply concealed activity. Every careless little rustle in this darkness could mean certain and very swift death. Everyone holds their breath, waiting for someone else's fatal mistake. Every advanced civilization is a tense, armed hunter, cautiously creeping among ancient trees. They all have their own technologies, severely limited resources, and a fierce, animalistic desire to survive. They have come a long way in their development and fully understand the true cost of even the slightest misstep. No one in space knows for certain the true intentions of the other inhabitants of this dark, cold expanse. Everyone is terrified of the first unexpected strike and therefore prefers to strike first at the slightest threat. A preemptive strike is considered the only reliable guarantee of long-term security. Game theory on such a scale dictates absolutely ruthless and harsh rules of conduct. It is impossible to quickly determine whether the neighbor before you is a kind one or a bloodthirsty conqueror. The distances are too great to establish lasting trust or conduct lengthy diplomatic negotiations. In such extremely paranoid conditions, any loud sound made instantly becomes an inevitable death sentence. Whoever foolishly reveals themselves first immediately attracts the intense attention of all the bloodthirsty others. Stealth becomes the most valuable resource for any intelligent spacefaring species. A bright artificial radio signal always acts like a blinding flare in the pitch-black darkness of space. It instantly reveals the exact coordinates of the source to all observers within a vast radius. In the boundless and cold cosmos, fierce competition for survival is absolutely and mathematically inevitable. None of the advanced races will waste precious time on lengthy negotiations with a potential enemy. Destroying the signal source is always much cheaper and safer than attempting to establish peaceful contact with it. This cold logic leaves no room for sentimentality. The survival of one's own unique species will always take precedence over any naive interstellar diplomacy. Therefore, the most advantageous and logical strategy is absolute, paralyzing, and eternal silence on all sides. It is best to simply lie low forever and listen carefully, giving absolutely no indication of one's presence. If this terrifying hypothesis is correct, the global suppression of signals is not a strange physical anomaly. It is a conscious, cold, and strategic choice made by absolutely all intelligent beings in our vast galaxy. Everyone remains silent solely out of the strongest and most justified fear of being destroyed. Those species that once behaved too loudly simply did not survive to our time. Their planets have long since turned into lifeless chunks of rock after being struck from deep space. Only the quietest, incredibly cunning, and extremely suspicious ancient, experienced civilizations remain. They use immense amounts of energy to create completely impenetrable information shields around their stars. Safety in this incredibly brutal world is guaranteed only by complete technological and absolute radio invisibility. Planetary-scale camouflage has become the primary condition for successful survival. This harsh rule makes our own situation critically dangerous and extremely, frighteningly vulnerable. Humanity completely lacks the necessary technologies for the complex energetic cloaking of an entire living planet. Our radio waves flow freely and unhindered through the atmosphere into the open, dark cosmos. For an entire century, we have behaved like naive, foolish, and careless children. We ventured into space and immediately, with great joy, began loudly announcing our presence. We did not even consider the possible catastrophic consequences of our actions. For decades, our radio, television, and military radars have continuously sent waves in all directions. Daily broadcasts of news and music have created a huge, expanding bubble of information around the Earth. We deliberately and proudly sent golden records with coordinates on space probes. We hoped to find new, friendly neighbors among those bright, cold stars. But we literally and very naively turned on a bright spotlight right in the middle of a forest full of predators. We voluntarily exposed ourselves to the onslaught of unknown, powerful forces. Our enormous informational radio trail has already spread to an unimaginable light-year distance from our home planet. It is physically impossible to erase, retract, or reliably mask it with any after-the-fact measure. All our Earth-based signals continue their endless journey, leading enemies straight to our home. If someone powerful and hostile is nearby, they have long since received our open invitation. These invisible cosmic hunters don't even need to make an effort to search for new habitable worlds. We ourselves have thoughtfully provided them with the perfect target for their hunt. We have carefully and in great detail provided them with all the information necessary to launch a precise strike. They know our exact location, level of technological development, and the chemical composition of our atmosphere. Every new massive antenna being built only catastrophically compounds our irreparable and foolish historical mistake. Instead of immediate concealment and silence, we continue to persistently and very loudly knock on closed doors. Scientists send new messages, hoping for a miracle and peaceful cooperation. But this miracle could turn into an absolute nightmare for all living beings. This behavior now looks like complete suicidal madness from the perspective of species survival in space. We are acting like prey that invites the hunter to its doorstep. Any possible response signal may turn out not to be a greeting, but a destructive energy weapon of mass destruction. Highly advanced races can destroy entire planets from vast distances with the slightest effort. It is enough to launch a projectile at the speed of light to wipe us off the face of the universe, and we will be completely unable to defend ourselves against such a sudden attack. Ignorance of these harsh rules of the game does not exempt anyone in the universe from brutal cosmic punishment. Space has definitively turned into a minefield where a single misstep inevitably leads to catastrophe. Our planet flies through this darkness completely defenseless and exposed to all winds. Society must realize the full depth of the danger we ourselves have created. Debates over halting transmissions are growing louder and more heated among scientists. Fear is gradually gaining the upper hand over the researchers' former optimism and curiosity. We have reached a point beyond which we must proceed with the utmost caution. We will have to learn to live in constant anticipation of a possible attack from the darkness. The once romantic and beautiful night sky has become a source of constant and intense anxiety for us. We have realized our fragility in the face of the ancient and merciless laws of survival. The stars above our heads now inspire in us only a very cold and primal dread. There is another, extremely disturbing and humiliating interpretation of our many years of astronomical nighttime observations. What if this all-encompassing and profound silence is directed exclusively against us alone? Scientists are seriously discussing the so-called giant cosmic zoo hypothesis, or the strict stellar isolation ward. Perhaps this blocking filter is not installed at all to protect the universe from hidden internal threats. It is needed solely to reliably and strictly isolate humanity from the galactic community. The whole picture becomes truly frightening when viewed closely from such an unexpected angle. We may currently be in a kind of quarantine of gigantic proportions, absolutely insurmountable for us. An invisible boundary may run right along the farthest reaches of our own solar system. Higher intelligences erected this barrier long before the very first humans appeared on Earth. They simply prepared a safe zone in advance for the development of a potentially dangerous, aggressive biological species. Think about how we ourselves constantly deal with dangerous and unknown deadly viruses. Epidemiologists do not try to negotiate with pathogenic bacteria or somehow integrate them into our society. We simply place them in sealed containment units with very thick, impenetrable walls made of durable glass. We artificially and reliably cut off any possibility for them to interact with the vast outside world. Their entire universe is forever reduced to the size of a single small flask on a researcher's table. Our scientists carefully study their behavior, never directly interfering with the natural process. What if someone far more intelligent has long since applied exactly the same cold logic to us? To ancient supercivilizations, humanity may represent a classic, highly aggressive virus of total destruction. They simply watch in silence to see how quickly we can destroy ourselves. Our earthly history is full of endless bloody wars and massive ecological, technological, and nuclear catastrophes. We still haven't learned to live in peace even on our tiny blue planet. Each new generation invents ever more sophisticated ways to brutally destroy its own kind. Our moral qualities lag catastrophically and drastically behind our rapid technological progress. To any truly wise civilization, we appear as an unpredictable and extremely savage threat. Who would even want to let savages with nuclear ballistic missiles into their orderly stellar home? It is entirely logical to securely lock away such a species until it has fully matured evolutionarily and socially. An ancient alien intelligence is simply waiting for us to outgrow our aggression and learn global responsibility. Until that long-awaited moment, any contact with us is strictly forbidden by an immutable galactic law. The quarantine theory explains perfectly and very elegantly why the barrier works so selectively and precisely. It allows the light of distant stars to pass through completely unimpeded, so as not to disrupt our illusion of a normal world. But this same invisible filter completely blocks any information capable of significantly accelerating our progress. The invisible energy barrier acts as a perfect intellectual insulator for our boisterous and young species. We are deliberately and strictly prevented from peeking at the answers in other civilizations' technological and scientific drafts. Any accidental hint could instantly lead to the creation of even more terrifying weapons of mass destruction. Humanity will have to traverse the entire arduous path of knowledge on its own, and over a very long period of time, without any cosmic cheat sheets. Only in this way can we be certain to form a mature civilization ready for safe, peaceful interstellar contact. In that case, our massive radio telescopes are by no means open windows to the universe. They are merely cold mirrors reflecting our own informational void and profound loneliness. We press against the glass walls of an aquarium and naively believe that this is the edge of the world. Science can study only that tiny fraction of reality that we have been allowed to safely see. And beyond this barrier, real, highly complex, and incredibly bustling active life is in full swing. There may well be vast transportation networks and federations of developed, peaceful alien planets. We are categorically and flatly refused access to this life, even from the most respectful distance. This thought deals a truly crushing blow to our collective pride and sense of self-importance. On the scale of a global quarantine, we turn out to be nothing more than a minor and potentially dangerous local problem. We are simply coldly ignored, with a very reliable barrier established in the dead space surrounding us. Our Earth is by no means the cradle of reason, but rather a strict reservation for dangerous wild species. The Guardians simply wait in silence for the natural resolution of our internal systemic and global crisis. Any attempt to breach this barrier could be viewed as an act of direct and dangerous galactic aggression. The defense protocol may well contain mechanisms for actively suppressing any potential threat emanating from us. We scream desperately into the void, and in response, we hear only the very cold clang of chains. But there is another, the deepest and most terrifying level of this frightening cosmic mystery. What if the structure of our reality is not truly dense, physical matter at all? The barrier of silence may not be an external alien device or a quarantine protective energy shield. It could be a hard-coded system limitation of the very basic environment of our current existence. We may well all be living inside an incredibly complex, artificially created, large-scale computer simulation. This bold idea completely overturns all our familiar notions about the laws of nature. This crazy theory is underpinned by a very rigorous and entirely well-founded modern mathematical foundation. The power of Earth's computing systems is growing every year in a crazy geometric infinite progression. Some external supercivilization could already have created a perfect virtual copy of the entire physical real world. This incredible fact brilliantly explains absolutely all of our unsolvable and highly complex astronomical paradoxes. If we ourselves strive to create virtual worlds, then why couldn't someone else have done so earlier? Our reality may turn out to be just one of billions of similar programs that have been launched. Mathematically perfect silence looks completely unnatural for a chaotic and turbulent natural material world. It resembles strict program code far more than a wild and random natural phenomenon. Signal blocking operates with the precision of a highly refined and tested complex computer algorithm. Nature is simply physically incapable of creating such smooth barriers across gigantic intergalactic distances. All cosmic catastrophes known to us leave behind a very messy and uneven radiation trail. Here, however, we observe an absolutely sterile and eerily clean void. The background microwave radiation contains huge cold spots that completely contradict the laws of ordinary classical physics. The suppression of radio signals looks like a desperate attempt by the system to simply conserve its computational resources. The computer simply stops processing complex processes that are not of paramount importance to the currently running simulation. Every computing machine has its own strict limits on performance and available RAM. When there are too many variables, the program is forced to ruthlessly simplify the surrounding background. It is precisely this process of global simplification that we can now observe through our telescopes. Rendering billions of complex civilizations would require a completely unimaginable amount of fast system RAM. Any super-powerful processor would inevitably freeze up under such an incredible flood of complex input variables. Therefore, the control system simply erases their radio traces to preserve the stability of the entire background program. Rendering the ordinary light of distant stars is quite easy for any powerful external quantum supercomputer. It is simply a flat, beautiful, glowing image in the farthest background of our virtual night sky. The illusion of depth is created exclusively for the observer within our current location. It serves merely as a pleasant backdrop and requires absolutely no in-depth elaboration of small, complex details. The observer is simply shown a beautiful starry sky to maintain the illusion of a vast, material, living world. But simulating intelligent activity and its signals requires a colossal, constant computational load on the system. A clever control program thoughtfully mutes the sound for all these incredibly complex, energy-intensive processes. As a result, we all find ourselves in a completely empty and strictly isolated dedicated server cell. Our solar system consumes exactly as many resources as have been allocated by an unknown administrator. Our modern, ultra-powerful telescopes are now literally and rigidly bumping up against the invisible edge of the loaded location. In video games, users very often encounter an insurmountable boundary of a beautifully rendered artificial virtual world. The Great Cosmic Silence works exactly like this basic invisible system wall. Developers simply have no reason to waste energy simulating places we cannot yet physically reach. Therefore, deep space remains completely empty and devoid of any intelligent activity. We look at low-resolution textures stretched across the boundaries of our virtual enclosure. Distant shining stars serve merely as beautiful digital backdrops painted on a vast inner dome. No signal will ever come from there, because there is absolutely no one there, neither physically nor in the software. The entire universe beyond our solar system may turn out to be nothing more than a beautiful optical illusion. Physicists have long observed strange mathematical patterns in the behavior of quantum particles when directly observed. Matter behaves like a wave until a conscious observer looks at it. This bears a striking resemblance to how modern computer game engines work. The famous speed of light is not some unshakable fundamental law of a true and incomprehensible nature. It is merely the basic maximum data processing speed on this specific server hardware. It is impossible to transmit information faster than the processor can calculate a new system frame. Hard signal suppression is simply a built-in, highly reliable software firewall. It is needed exclusively to block unauthorized scripts and any malicious third-party background processes. The system automatically cuts off anything that disrupts its internal mathematical harmony. The program constantly protects itself from information overload and critical, irreparable hardware failures. If we were to accidentally hear millions of voices, our new knowledge would destroy the given simulation scenario. That is precisely why the silence filter works so perfectly and allows for no exceptions. Who could have possibly created this grandiose and endlessly terrifying complex digital computational construct? Perhaps it is an ancient race that successfully survived the destruction of its real, original, and material home universe. They copied their consciousness onto hard drives before the final end of the real physical world. Or perhaps we are simply a random digital byproduct in a gigantic laboratory run by bored programmers unknown to us. These invisible creators silently observe as we develop in complete isolation from other worlds. Absolute radio silence is merely a basic condition for the purity of the global experiment they are conducting. The scientists on the other side of the screen are interested in observing a society that considers itself the only one in the universe. Any contact with aliens would immediately destroy the purity of this unique laboratory data. Therefore, we are doomed to eternal solitude within the framework of this specific program. We are strictly given absolutely no clues whatsoever, so as not to disrupt the course of this large-scale external testing. Any slightest external interference would immediately ruin all the carefully collected important statistical data. This terrifying thought completely destroys any beautiful concept of our supreme and unique human destiny. Our discoveries, our sufferings, and our art turn out to be nothing more than dry lines of soulless machine code. The entire history of humanity may be nothing more than the result of a random number generator. We take pride in our achievements, which were programmed long before our virtual birth. We struggle for survival inside a machine that can simply be unplugged from a household outlet. None of our achievements make any sense if the server is scheduled to be rebooted tomorrow and never come back on. The invisible creators do not interact at all with the running code at our primitive and lowest level. They simply quietly release another corrective software patch when something gets out of control. Mass extinctions in Earth's history could very well have been such harsh system updates. Ancient animal species simply took up too much RAM and were deleted by the administrator. Our overly loud attempts to contact space could easily be deemed a critical, dangerous system error. We constantly send out radio signals, trying to reach sections of code that simply do not exist. The antivirus system may automatically and ruthlessly clear the infected sector of unnecessary, intrusive information noise. If we become too demanding on server resources, we may be identified as a malicious virus. Then the eradication of all humanity would be merely a matter of a single brief command in the Creator's terminal. No one would even notice the disappearance of a tiny anomaly on the edge of a vast virtual galaxy. A single update to the base code is capable of erasing civilization without a trace in the blink of an invisible machine millisecond. We will never know of the approaching end because time will stop along with the processor. The realization of this incredible fragility of our existence forces science to completely rethink its primary goals. Perhaps we shouldn't even try to break through this programmatic barrier of great silence. Stepping beyond the simulation might not be a great discovery, but a fatal system crash. The silence of space serves as a reliable guarantee that our server is still running smoothly. We have come very close to the very edge of our understanding of the vast, dark, and bottomless universe around us. All of our latest astrophysical hypotheses lead to incredibly frightening and deeply depressing logical conclusions. Scientists are desperately trying to find even a shred of logic in this global, terrifying absence of radio signals. But every new theory turns out to be far darker and more hopeless than its predecessor. The essence of what is happening remains absolutely and terrifyingly unchanged for all of our fragile and highly vulnerable humanity. We are forced to completely and permanently reevaluate our true, humble place in this vast, cold void. We are incredibly small and utterly powerless in the face of this ominous cosmic and utterly dead silence. All that remains for us is to stand silently before this utterly insurmountable, invisible barrier of total, terrifying unknown. For many years, science promised us a bright and incredibly joyful shared future of successful interstellar space exploration. Science fiction writers described vast galactic federations and the peaceful exchange of incredible cutting-edge technologies. But harsh reality has taught us an extremely cruel, cold, and sobering historical lesson. Space turned out to be not a cozy shared home at all, but an extremely dangerous and closed zone of alienation. The vast cosmos is certainly not waiting for us with open arms and warm, friendly smiles. The Great Silence makes it abundantly clear that there are extremely strict rules of brutal cosmic survival. We are forced to unquestioningly submit to this dictate of an unknown and highly elusive force that vastly surpasses us. Any attempt to violate these unspoken laws could lead to the instantaneous destruction of our entire planet. Every new radio telescope now brings scientists far more primal fear than sincere, bright hope. Instruments of knowledge have unexpectedly turned into potential triggers of an inevitable global catastrophe. We watch the monitor graphs very closely and are terrified of one day seeing a response there. Any intelligible signal received will inevitably and very brutally shatter our familiar, comfortable, illusory world. If we hear an alien voice, we will have to immediately and swiftly prepare for the worst-case scenario. That voice will, with a high degree of probability, belong to a powerful and utterly ruthless cosmic predator. This oppressive paranoia is gradually and steadily seeping into all modern deep space exploration programs. Many researchers are seriously proposing to completely freeze all projects involving the active search for extraterrestrial intelligence. Absolute silence has long been our curse, but it is also our primary shield of salvation. As long as the infinite cosmos remains silent, we can continue our familiar daily lives with complete peace of mind. People build cities, develop culture, and deal with their petty, earthly, everyday problems. Ignorance has turned out to be a far more comfortable state for our incredibly fragile and very weak psyche. We instinctively hide behind this invisible wall from global existential and completely unpredictable external threats. The veil of mystery allows us to maintain the pleasant illusion of complete safety in our small, fragile world. But our basic human curiosity is physically impossible to simply switch off forever. We will inevitably continue to listen to this ominous void every long and crystal-clear night. Astronomers will stubbornly and desperately search for the slightest cracks in this invisible and fantastically durable barrier. Our species is biologically programmed for a ceaseless search for the truth about the structure and workings of the entire universe. We are driven forward by an insatiable thirst for knowledge, no matter how terrifying this ultimate truth may be. To reject knowledge is tantamount to rejecting human nature itself and our inquisitive minds. We will persistently continue our research at the very limits of all our current earthly technical capabilities. This irrepressible curiosity is our ancestral curse and, at the same time, our greatest driving force. It was precisely this curiosity that once compelled us to build the first spaceships and launch them toward the stars. We are simply evolutionarily incapable of stopping halfway to unraveling great and very terrifying mysteries. Our science will build new detectors capable of capturing even the tiniest quantum fluctuations of the vacuum. The desire to unravel the secret of silence is far stronger than our primal fear of the unknown. Perhaps one day we ourselves will rise to the incredible level of the unknown creators of this global cosmic barrier. Technology will allow us to fully control all matter and energy within our own star system. We will overcome our internal conflicts and clearly understand why it was necessary to carefully conceal our presence. Wisdom comes only through painful experience and the realization of our own fatal historical global mistakes. And then we ourselves will voluntarily, consciously, and permanently shut down all our powerful open radio transmitter antennas. We will become as secretive and silent as all the other ancient civilizations around us. We will simply stop drawing unnecessary attention to ourselves from the formidable inhabitants of the deep, dark, cold depths of the galaxy. We will disciplined join this great cosmic silence for the sake of our own guaranteed and absolutely safe survival. This will be our final act of coming of age as a truly intelligent and highly responsible hidden cosmic species. Youthful maximalism will give way to the cold, mathematical calculation of a complex strategy for safe survival. Humanity will finally learn to listen to the universe without revealing its exact location to aggressive and cruel neighbors. We will finally blend into the surrounding background and become completely invisible to external alien observers. Reasonable and cool-headed caution will completely supplant our former reckless and very naive historical openness. But until then, we remain completely alone in our small and fragile planetary system. Our blue planet flies through space, surrounded on all sides by a dense wall of ringing silence. We try to make sense of our loneliness, with no certainty of a safe and peaceful tomorrow. This crushing uncertainty is the heaviest burden on our vulnerable and fragile collective mind. Each new generation is forced to bear the heavy burden of this fundamental cosmic ignorance. Think about this frightening fact the next time you look at the very bright stars at night. You will never again see there the familiar, friendly, completely open, and very hospitable world. The romance of the night sky is forever overshadowed by the understanding of the harsh laws of survival in a completely wild and merciless cosmos. You will clearly see a gigantic enigma that deliberately and cruelly hides all possible answers from us. Every shining point now seems not a beacon of hope, but a closed and well-fortified military stronghold. And the inhabitants of these silent strongholds categorically refuse to communicate with uninvited strangers. This beautiful, sparkling dome above our heads is full of incredible and, as yet, completely unsolvable ancient mysteries. The greatest of them lies in the true hidden cause of the endless silence of the bottomless and cold night sky. For hundreds of years, we have been trying to solve this most complex riddle, but we receive only new questions without clear answers. Our cutting-edge science has turned into an attempt to read an ancient book locked tight with a complex lock. Scientists are like blind explorers trying to describe a vast world based on a tiny fragment of information. Our hunger for information forces us to construct the most incredible and frankly grim hypotheses about the nature of reality. And so far, we have absolutely no chance of finding the right key to this terrifying mechanism. All our calculations run up against an insurmountable wall of the lack of reliable and verifiable precise empirical data. We wander blindly in the dark, without the slightest reliable guide for our future salvation. Familiar reality has turned out to be far deeper and incomparably more complex than any of our wildest earthly fantasies. Our minds are simply not ready to comprehend the true scale of the grand spectacle unfolding around us. Physics and philosophy merge in desperate attempts to explain this phenomenal lack of contact. We are forced to acknowledge our complete historical defeat in the face of the universe's grandeur and absolute indifference. Humanity's pride has given way to a quiet, primal terror of the unknown hidden behind every distant nebula. Perhaps this fear will become our best teacher on the long road to understanding the true laws of the universe. Only the utmost caution will help us avoid repeating the tragic fate of those who proved too reckless. Exploring space now feels more like walking through a minefield with our eyes tightly blindfolded. We take each new step with great difficulty, expecting instant retribution for our meddling. Perhaps it would be better for us never to learn this truly terrifying truth in our lifetime. After all, some of the universe's frightening secrets must remain forever safely hidden in the deep, cold darkness.